Okay, thank you everyone for coming to Velir for the September New England Sitecore User Group. Looks like a really good crowd for our talk tonight. Couple of short announcements. Most important, the restrooms are right around this. This is called Isengard. You know, you have to go around Isengard. Right down, there's a doorway right on the side. Go through the brown doorway, and then you have a men's room. Women's room, you should be all set.
Are they taking the other side?
What's that? Okay, so the second time, we do not have another meetup scheduled, so if anyone has anything that they'd like to present.
We do.
We do?
Actually, we do. So,
Okay,
yeah,
breaking news.
Eyesight Design will be hosting the meetup for October. Topic to be revealed. They were not available for comment when I asked them. But yeah, they
Breaking
own
news.
October. November will most likely be at Genuine Interactive, either by yours truly or one of my counterparts. So, and then typically for December, we hit Sitecore up and they buy the booze and usually pretty good food. So keep your eyes peeled.
But the restroom is still right around us. And then, okay, I want to introduce our speaker. Mike Reynolds has been developing in the Sitecore space since Sitecore 5.2. He has got the nickname hardest working blogger in Sitecore. He's passionately dedicated to the platform. I've had the honor of working with him at my previous company, and there is no one who knows the insides and out. If you have to dive in and figure out how the clone API works, he's a good guy to be pairing up with. So his blog is covered. Just the topics are just way too numerous. I have them written down here. He's talked about creating in WordPress. You have what are they called? Short forms. He's figured out how to do that in Sitecore. Short codes. He's figured out how to build composite Sitecore commands. He goes through step by step, line by code, down to the screenshots at the end. And he wrote a topic on how to build an automated template reorganization command in the content editor, which hurts my head. And while we're on the topic of automation,
The robot is
Technical difficulties.
Okay, here's Mike in person.
Thank you.
Okay.
He's a robot.
He's a robot.
So hey everybody, I'm Mike Reynolds. I'm from MedTouch. I'm a developer there. Build things in Sitecore. Build Sitecore modules all day long. It's the best job ever. So I'm here to talk about command line stuff. So what am I talking about? I'm not talking about things like DOS. I'm not talking about Unix. I'm talking about writing scripts. I'm talking about writing a bunch of different code together to do different compact things without having to do any code deploys or anything like that. Alistair Denny's, former Sitecore MVP from Australia, said it best. He says, scripting saves time. So why does it save time? Well, you can do bulk updates on items. So think about writing a single ASPX web form to do all kinds of stuff. You have to build it, you have to deploy it, you have to run it, and then things blow up, and you have to go back, troubleshoot, debug, all that stuff. Well here, look at this. You can write a script. You don't have to do any compilation. Just run it. If you see a problem, you go back, you change it. Very minimal updates. Just happens. And then boom, you just get it to work. So that's what I mean about saving time. Because when we save time, we save money. And that's the bottom line. That's at the end of the day, we have to pay bills. And so I was thinking, all right, these aren't Benjamins. These are what, John Gians? Anyways. Westians. No. Well, Benjamin Franklin. John Gian. Would it be Westian?
I don't know.
Anyways, technical, whatever. So, what are our options? Well, you have SQL. I hate hearing people talk about updating things in Sitecore using SQL. I think that's the worst possible thing unless you have to do it. I don't see why you would ever have to do it, but there was something on Twitter recently that, hey, I have to export passwords out of the membership databases. Well, maybe, but even then, I would say investigate some other kind of solution. There's a rich API that we can use. Why would you go into the database and fudge around with it? You're going to screw things up. I'd rather just leave that alone. Don't even look at that as an option. I wasn't even going to put it on the slide, but Alistair Denny's did it at Sitecore Symposium in 2012 in Australia. I figured I would do due diligence and just do that. We also have Sitecore Rocks Query Analyzer. I'll be truthful, I have no idea how that works. I've never looked at it, don't even know. But today I'm going to talk about Revolver and Sitecore PowerShell extensions. All right, so Revolver It's the first one that I've looked at. And it was built by Alistair Denny's. He's a former Sitecore MVP from Australia. I don't know if he actually publicly announced this, but he joined Sitecore last week. He quit his job and he's going there actually next week. I asked him, I was kind of curious. I don't like prying, but actually I do like prying. Anyways, it was the first scripting module built for Sitecore. So pretty much he set in motion this whole, I wouldn't say paradigm shift, but he planted the seed saying, hey, we need to come up with some scripting capabilities for Sitecore. You know, I mean, other platforms might have it, but you know, we need to have something. So today it's open source. At one point it was 3,500 Australian dollars. And in American money, that's almost the same. So today it's free, that's great. You can change things around, I'll show you that later. And it also has a custom language that kind of looks like Unix. So for those that have a Unix background, you can like it, and a DOS background too. So let's take a look and see what it looks like. So it basically, you install it using a package. You don't have to do any config changes or anything like that. It just comes out of the box, starts working. And you have this nice little thing under development tools. You have Revolve. And it looks just like Unix. Look at that. You have, you do an ls, you can see what items are underneath the current item. So I'm on the Sitecore node right now. Each item is treated like a directory or a folder. So I can actually go into things. In Unix and SOS, you can do like a tab to kind of like autocomplete. It doesn't work here. Just let me know that up front. So I have page 1, page 2, and page 3. I can look at attributes on items. So if you don't pass in a path, it's going to use the current context item. So right now I'm on the home page. I can do this. What attributes do I have? I have ID, I have name, key, template ID. I can also get a specific one if I want. I can do this, and I can say I want to know what the ID is. There we go. I can get field data from current item. So I have all this stuff right here on my home page. And it also includes, standard fields. Have renderings, have all this good stuff. I can also get a specific field if I want. Let's do this. There we go. Welcome to the $sign name page. I'll show you what I'm going to do later with that. So right now, the most important command I think in Revolver right now is help. That'll give me a list of everything that's available. It's kind of like a man command in Unix. So I can get a list of all kinds of things that I can use here. And if I want to get specific information on a particular command, I can just do, help rm. So help rm tells me, okay, rm deletes an item, including all of its token. It gives me all kinds of information here. I can pass in a path, it's optional. I can say, okay, I want to throw things directly into outer space, not into the recycle if I do this. So also there's capabilities of creating items. One thing that's a little wacky is sometimes the UI gets a little out of sync, so sometimes you just have to press enter or do a clear and just to get back to where you were. Sometimes you might end up over here, you don't want that because things get a little screwed up. Let's do this. So you can create an item by using the touch command. Do this. Example item. And then you pass in a name. Dan, do you remember if it takes a name parameter?
No, I think you just put it in the text. And wrap it in parentheses if it's not a space.
Right. So that when you want to use text that has a space in it, you wrap it in parentheses. It's kind of like I did right here for the template. And boom, create a test. Here it is. It lives. I created 2 tests. It lives right underneath home. Now I pressed enter twice. Oops. So also you can do some really interesting things with serialization. This actually existed before you had TDS or the serialization framework within Sitecore itself. So I can do GI, and it'll give me the current item is XML. And then I can say, hey, I want to put that in a file. So I can do echo, I can do f, test.xml. Actually, let's call it home.xml to make it actually make sense. And this is kind of like the pipe operator in Unix, even though it's not really a pipe. It's getting less than time. And then I can put another command in here that will run first. You guys remember from math, you know, things that are within parentheses happen first before other things. It's the same idea. So I say, okay, boom, GI. And it was written to my temp folder in my website group on Sitecore. So that was there. Can everybody hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. So by default, if you don't specify a path, it will dump it in the temp folder. You can specify a path, but if it's outside the website root, you gotta give that whatever is running your app pool permission to write to that directory. I found that out the hard way. It just bombs out. So here we go. I have my home XML right here, and there's all kinds of stuff in here. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to take this and I'm going to actually rehydrate it somewhere else in the content tree. And that's what I was talking about right there. I was not where I wanted to be, and then you press enter and nothing happens. So I do this, and then I go into page 2. And then I'm going to do touch, feed in XML. I'm going to do echo input file name, what do I call it? Home.xml. Boom. So actually, let's go look at that in the content editor. And page 2, and here we go. I ended up rehydrating home underneath page 2. Not definitely a good idea for the home page, but I mean, you see what I'm getting at. You can actually take items, you can serialize them, and you can rehydrate them somewhere else. Sure, there are other tools that will work that way, but you know, keep in mind this came first.
Doesn't the item serialization include the item ID? Are there two items with the same item ID now?
What do you mean? No, it's gonna create a new item with a new ID. It's using the Sitecore API behind the scenes, which I'm not gonna show. I'd have to get the entire Sitecore code, and I'm not gonna do that. So there we go. Dan, do you have anything you want to share with us? Because I saw you digging into this very deeply.
Yes, yeah, no, this is great. A couple things just on your point. You can pass a flag, I think -I, which will keep the IDs. So if you delete your home item and you want to restore it, you could use the -I to basically make everything come back with the same IDs. And then there's a recursive flag, which will keep the entire tree. So that's something that serialization won't do. You could take, if you have enough space on your hard drive, you could take your entire Sitecore site and recursively store just a single XML file and then rehydrate it. So that might be very useful for recreating test data, for example, integration test.
So actually, I'll demonstrate that right now. I'll put something recursively in a text file. And actually, you can press up and down. You can actually have an audit trail of different commands that you ran in the past, which is really useful, just like Unix and DOS, which is awesome. So I can do this, and I'm going to actually put it in a different file. So I actually don't know if it will append to it, or it will overwrite it. I haven't tried that. So boom. Then I'm going to go into, let's say, page 1. Oops.
So this is just using the serialization API to do that?
No, it predates the serialization API. It's using
Direct
basically
database.
to write whatever the API is to write XML format of items.
Interesting.
Yeah, it might be something custom.
There's actually a blog post where he says, "Oh, now Sitecore's coming out with serialization." Of course, we've been doing that with Revolver for about 6 months now.
Let's run it. There we go. Oops, sorry. One over here. There we go. I cloned all home item, the home item and all of its children and descendants all the way down, right there, just in one command. 2 commands, actually. I had to put it in an XML file and then rehydrate. So there we go.
Can you create custom commits?
You can, I'm going to show that. Not yet. Just wait.
I love this.
All right, so
his eyes.
So I'll be truthful. I don't know how these all work. I have not tried them all. You know, you can get the working directory, which is PWD, which is just the current item path. You know, you can get you can actually do some string manipulations here. You can actually grab, like, let's say, a list of IDs that are separated by pipes, and you can add to that. There's a command that does that, and there's a command that removes it as as well. I played around with that, I'm not sure that tonight, but it's there. You know, basically I'm just showing you that, you know, all these things are here for you to, you know, do manipulations if you have to. You can actually take these and you can save them into a script. And I'm going to show you that. I just went to the core database. That's where they do it.
This is why you need a scripting tool.
Yeah.
Watching this.
What does it do? There we go.
When you use Revolver in the core database, you just CD/.
Right.
Then you can write scripts.
Oh, I've done that.
Yeah, you can change databases with the Revolver. So if I was on master, I can go to you know, web, or I can go to core, or anywhere, and vice versa. I can be in core, and I can go back to master. I can write things in here. I don't recommend messing around with core unless you know what to do. So you have a nice little modules directory here with Revolver, and then here we have scripts. It says right here it's online. So we have startup scripts which run when you open up Revolver. They get executed automatically depending on like the role, and roles are actually set on this thing here called startup. So we have something that's binding to everybody. It's actually not, you know, you can't select the user from this or a role or anything like that. You actually put in the string value here, and you can separate it by commas. And then you can point to a script that you want to run, which, you know, for this particular script, it actually lives in here, startup, set prompt. And that sets the prompt that you see when we're inside of Revolver. So I wrote a custom script, and actually this is a good segue into the custom commands, Tim. So I wrote a script called bind custom command, which actually binds a custom command that I built to show you guys. So this gets executed every time I start up Revolver. And I actually added this here to bind the every one row. And when that gets executed, it actually, you don't see it, you know, the output, because I shut the output off. If you notice, I echo off and then I echo back on. It stops on error, so if something blows up, it just stops. All right, so custom commands. They all must implement this interface here called iCommand. I'm going to show you an example, but mine doesn't. Well, mine does implement iCommand, but I use the base command that Alistair wrote because actually there's a lot of useful things in it. I don't know everything that's in that base abstract command, but there's a lot of useful things that I need, like, you know, context database and things like that that I don't want to deal with. So I have custom command.